Hello everybody, my name is Alexiaanne and these are my top 10 ultimate tips to write a great song. If you're new here, hi and welcome. I'm an independent singer-songwriter. I've been writing songs since I was 11 years old. I started learning guitar when I was 6. I studied vocal technique and songwriting at Musicians Institute in Hollywood. So I'll be drawing from my studies and from my personal experience for this video. These are all things that I took years and years to learn or paid a lot of money for, so I'm doing this video so you don't have to. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. Tip number 1 is don't just go around the track. So don't just simply repeat bits and sections of a song without changing it up or adding something. A song usually has 3 to 4 choruses, could be way more than 4, but usually not less than 3. And what you want to do is not just copy and paste the same chorus. You can add backing vocals, you can change the beat, you can add ad-libs, you could switch the melody a little bit, do a run. You could even change the lyrics a little bit, change the lyrics of a sentence there. This one's not that common, but it does happen. These are all possibilities. And also, a good example that I have for this tip is a song by Demi Lovato. It's called Ruin the Friendship. And in this song, she goes 1 octave higher in the second chorus in falsetto. And then for her third chorus, she stays in that higher octave, but then she goes in full head voice. And I thought that was a good example for this tip. Tip number 2 is foreshadowing. You want your song to stick to people's heads, and a great resource you can use is previewing a melody that is going to appear, let's say in the chorus of your song, using another instrument at the beginning of a song. For example, you can use, you could have a slide guitar in your intro playing the first 2 bars of your hook. That way, when the listener gets to the hook, they will already be familiarized with that melody and they're gonna sing and hum along and it's gonna hit home and they're gonna be hooked. Tip number 3 is start with the melody. If you're a beginner, I recommend starting with the melody rather than the lyrics because it's what's gonna catch the listener. And if they dig the melody and they can relate to the lyrics, that is a bonus and that's when you gain a fan. If they dig the melody, but the lyrics, not so much, they'll still listen to your song. It might not become their favorite, but they'll still listen to it. Now, if you sacrifice what could have been a great melody for the sake of fitting all your chunky lyrics into it, then that's when you can potentially lose a fan because they're just not going to stick around to pay attention to your lyrics if they didn't like how the song sounds in the first place. Shape your lyrics to fit your melody and not the other way around. Think about the metric of the verses. If that means you're gonna have to rewrite some of the stuff that you had written, then do so. If that means you're gonna have to break down what could have been 1 sentence into 2 or 3 verses, then do so. If that means you're gonna have to use filler words, use filler words. You're not writing an essay or a novel. If you were, you would most likely not want to use filler words or break any sentences down. But it's a song, so that's what you're gonna have to do in order for your words to fit the metric of your verses. For me, usually when I have an idea for a song, the hook comes first and it usually already comes with lyrics. And then I write my song around that. I write the melody with any syllable, na na na, ta ta ta, whatever. And then I write my lyrics as a final step. Tip number 4 is name your song last. So you've written your melody, you've written your lyrics for the melody, everything sounds good. Okay, so now we're gonna look at the song and analyze what it's talking about and which title sums it up best. The title is the last thing you're gonna do. It's the cherry on top. It's what's gonna drag people's attention to the song. So you wanna know what you're talking about in the song before you decide your title. Tip number 5 is don't overlap instruments of similar frequency. Otherwise, your song is just gonna sound like a mess. For example, don't have a guitar lick while you're having a violin solo in your song because that's just gonna be chaotic to the listener. What you want to have is 1 instrument at the forefront of your song at each time. That's what's called a great arrangement. And then you just have the other instruments complementing whatever that main instrument for that specific section is doing. Think about the dynamics of your song, when you want to go soft and when you want to hit hard. A good example is, let's say, okay, don't go for a money note. Money note is like that one super high note that some songs have. Don't go for that while you're having a guitar blasting a solo, because that's just gonna create confusion to the listener. Usually the choruses of a song are the loudest and more intense parts, whereas the verses are somewhat softer, but that can be changed. I've been seeing lots of top Billboard songs doing that, actually subverting this norm and making the choruses softer than the verses, which is awesome and super cool and you can do. But I think in order to break the rules, you gotta learn them first. Tip number 6 is don't tell, show. Use lots of imagery and metaphors in your song. I cannot stress enough how important this is. So for example, when you're writing your lyrics, don't just say, I miss you. Say, grabbed my phone, started typing 8 times before I had to get going. That's when my tacos arrived and I was never able to hit send. That wasn't a very good example, but the point is, you see, now you've created a whole mental picture of the story that I'm trying to tell in my song. The listener knows you're eating tacos, which is as relatable as it can get, but still very specific at the same time, which is key, by the way. You want to be relatable by being specific. You don't want to leave way too much to imagination or be too broad, because if you do that, the listener is just not going to be invested in your story. So going back to my example, now the listener knows that you're having trouble sending a text to that special someone. They don't know why though. You could be shy. You could have done something to them. They could have done something to you. They could be your coworker. You could have social anxiety. We don't know. But now we want to keep listening to find out. Another example that I have is from the latest single that I've released. It's called Mercury. And I'm just gonna sing the first verse real quick and put the lyrics on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Well, there's a fire in the woods in my neighborhood. My boss is yelling at me more than he usually would. I burned my thumb, felt so dumb, making hot cocoa. If I suck game, I think the devil's on the road. Okay, so in this first verse, what we can assume is that this person, me, is super stressed out, and I'm not telling you, hey, I'm not doing so well. No, I'm showing you the things that have been happening to me so that you can come to the conclusion that I'm not doing so well yourself. So I'm telling you, hey, I burned my thumb making hot chocolate. My boss is yelling at me more than usual, and there's been fires in my neighborhood. So now you're like, oh, okay, so yeah, she's not doing well. But I'm not saying that with those words. I'm showing you this. So that's basically what you want. You want the listener to visualize your story in order for them to connect to it and feel it. All right, so tip number 7 is have your influences, but don't try to sound exactly like them. Be yourself. Don't try to sound like Adele, because there already is one Adele, and she's the best at being Adele. No one can be Adele better than she can be herself. And in the same way that no one can beat you at being yourself. That's what you have to bring to the table, is your uniqueness. The uniqueness of your life experiences, everything, every little situation that you've been through that made you, your personality. That's what you have to bring to the table. And that's how you're going to be inspiring other people, because you can't tell other person's story. You can tell your own story. And people are going to feel the truth in it, and they're going to connect to it, and they're going to respect you for that, for telling your story. People crave originality, and they're always looking for a new something to be emotionally attached to. And so when you're writing your song, You can think about the mood you want your song to be in. You can think about the key you want it to be in. Think about the arrangement. Think about the tempo if you want your song to be mid-tempo and up-tempo song. But just don't start writing a song trying to make it sound like another song that already exists, because it's just gonna be a cheap copy of it. You know, you have it in you. If you're watching this video and you feel like you have this gift of writing, then you do. I'm 100% sure that you do. You just need to perfect it and you know the tools that are available to you so that you're able to write your song and express your ideas in the best way possible. Another thing I wanted to say about this topic is don't hop on trends just because you want to be trendy. Because these trends that are in right now, well, they started a while ago, let me tell you. So if you're trying to become part of a current trend, be sure that when you get there, when you get recognized for playing that trend is gonna be, people are gonna be over it. That trend is gonna be in the past. So you gotta always look for the future. And to do that, you gotta look inside of you. Okay, so again, it all boils down to originality and making music that feels right for you. Pay attention to your surroundings, of course, but don't try to copy. Don't try to copy. It's just not going to be beneficial for you. Tip number 8 is invest in learning how to play an instrument, or learn how to create loops and beats and write on top of them. That is important for you to know what's going on in your song, for you to understand chords and rhythm and scales and modes and modulation and keys and all these things so that you can communicate better with your band. It's not that you absolutely have to play an instrument to become a professional songwriter. There's lots of songwriters that don't know how to play an instrument who are amazing. But in that case, you're gonna need co-writers with you, which is fine. Again, it's fine because that's how the songwriting industry works. We're always co-writing with other people. But I would say if you're starting out, playing an instrument is definitely a huge advantage. And you know, it's never too late to start. There's lots of resources for you to learn online, and most of the people you look up to, not most of them, but I'm gonna say half of them, are self-taught, so there you go. Tip number 9 is the sentences in your song should sound natural and go with the flow and the melody of the song. If that means you're gonna have to rewrite some of the verses that you already wrote, or a lot of the verses that you already wrote, then that's what you do. In other words, you know, don't be lazy, take your time with the song, but also there's a time when we gotta let go of the song. So don't be too much of a perfectionist either. It's all about balance. I know because I'm a perfectionist myself and it took me years to learn this, and I would always try to rewrite everything in the song and try to make it better, but then that was just harmful to me. So yeah, just have balance. Don't be lazy, but also don't overthink it. Just don't overthink it at all. And also don't try to write a song quick because you saw your favorite producer or songwriter doing it, because these people we look up to, they have the best equipment, they have a bunch of co-writers with them, they probably only do that as a job, they're every day in the studio, and if you're starting out, that's most likely not your case. So, you know, take your time, work on your craft, practice, and do things in your own time. And finally, tip number 10 is don't be afraid to experiment until you find your sound. And know that your sound is always evolving. We, as human beings, are always evolving, so there's no reason why our sound shouldn't. That's why a lot of these pop mainstream artists that we see, they have these different eras because they're always changing, and sometimes they don't want to sing songs that they've written years ago because it just doesn't represent who they are and what they're thinking anymore. Obviously, when you're a beginner, it's good to try and follow the general structure of a pop song, which is a topic I want to do a video on next. Let me know if you want to watch it. But yeah, after a while, after you get used to it, you're gonna find your style, and yeah, you can just experiment with it. Take this video as a guidance, but definitely know what is right and what feels right for you. And that feeling, that knowledge is only gonna come with experience. So yeah, just write. And in the future, if you wanna subvert these norms, these so-called norms, you can do it all. You know, if you want to have, like I mentioned before, if you want to have your chorus softer than the verses, you can do that. If you want to modulate, which is something that I personally really like to do sometimes, do so. If you want to have an outro in your song instead of an intro, or both, then do so. You know, you can go wild with it. That is okay. We're artists. Alright, you guys, so these were all the tips that I had for you today. I hope you've learned something new with this video, whether you're a beginner or a more experienced songwriter. Let me know in the comments down below which tip resonated more with you. And also let me know if this video helped you write a song, because that would be my only goal with this video. And so yeah, I really hope it was helpful. And also, if you enjoyed this video, leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That's very helpful. It helps the channel grow so that I can be posting many more useful videos in the future with better quality as well. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.